Peas are something that are just getting rolling here kind of in Toole and Glacier County. We're really expanding acres, so it's important for people to understand how these programs work. You can insure peas by type, and different levels can be selected for each type. So you have lentils, smooth green and yellow peas, Austrian winter peas, and forage peas growing for seed. And I forgot to add into this slide, but chickpeas now are also insurable in pretty much all of our counties. I just estimated these base prices as this presentation is being done before the price is settled out, but lentils have a base price of 19 cents a pound. The smooth green and yellows, like I talked about at the beginning of this presentation, actually ended up being 16 cents a pound for this year, which is like 9.50 a bushel. So that's a positive. If you're tracking the yellow market, you'd see that yellow peas are only worth probably 5.50 a bushel, and the greens are probably $10 in that range. So if you're growing yellow peas, you get to use this hybrid price between greens and yellows, or 9.50 a bushel for your base price for your peas for this crop year. And then Desi chickpeas, those were just added to a couple of our counties here. Those will be 18 cents a pound, which would end up being somewhere in the ballpark, I think, of probably $11 a bushel. So peas actually added a revenue insurance component to the coverage a couple years ago. So now instead of just having one price and getting paid if you're short just the poundage on the peas, it's going to work just like the wheat and barley, corn, those crops would, where they're going to establish a base price in the spring, which we just went through. And then at harvest time, they're also going to establish a harvest price to determine whether not only maybe did you lose revenue because of being short on yield, you could also get revenue factor figured in here for the market dropping on peas as well. The base price is set in early March, which it just happened here. Then the harvest prices probably won't be calculated until December, because instead of using a futures market for this, they're actually using local elevator trades, kind of averaged throughout the nation, to come up with a price for all the field pea products. So instead of having a futures market that averages even before we're harvesting, kind of like we do on wheat and barley, canola, the only way for them to really get a good grip on what happened as far as your sales at the elevator is to call around to all the places and get their settlements. So that's why it's going to take longer to get your harvest price on this crop. There's no enterprise units available yet on peas. Hopefully that comes here in the near future. This is probably the biggest thing to understand, especially as we get into multiple years of doing this, is that there's rotation restrictions on all these pea and lentil products. Basically, this is for disease problems that develop if you seed these more than once every 3 years in the same field. So on field peas, you can't insure any land that was seeded to peas in either of the previous 2 crop years, or on which sunflowers were planted in the previous year. So basically, you can't seed field peas in 2014, then seed wheat, and then go back to field peas. There has to be a 2-year break in there. So what a lot of guys are doing for rotation here, especially if they still have fallow in their mix, is they'll do maybe barley, then peas, then wheat, then fallow, and then of course on fallow you would always put the small grain crop probably back in. So it would go back to barley, then peas again. So we would have peas, then wheat, then fallow, and then a small grain crop, and then peas again. The closest you could rotate peas in there would be to do like peas, then barley, and then peas. You couldn't do peas just 1 year out from when they were seeded prior. And on lentils, kind of the same thing. You can't insure any land in which lentils were planted in the previous 2 crop years, or any broadleaf crop in the previous year. So obviously any broadleaf crop could entail all kinds of things. Peas would be one thing, but alfalfa, canola, you could go through a whole list of things that would fall into that category. So basically, unless you have a grass crop before the lentils, you can't seed them and have them insured.